absolute respect here for Dravid, Lakshman, and everyone. But
This has become our Bismillah Rahmani Rahim, no? Like has to absolute respect to Dravid, but fuck off.
most sung about unsung players.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?
Hello and welcome to Bits and Pieces, the friendliest football podcast. The 2022 World Cup in Qatar may be missing some big teams, Italy, Egypt, Nigeria, Colombia for example, and some big players, Mohamed Salah, Erling Haaland, Victor Osimhen, etc. But that's what makes this tournament the best in sports. Brazil are looking to win their first World Cup since 2002, while England, Argentina and Germany are hoping to dethrone defending champions. What? Why are you looking at me like that? Fuck off, I'm not talking about cricket and all, okay? What do you mean I'm What do you mean I'm contractually obligated to? Fine. Hello and welcome to Bits and Pieces, the friendliest cricket podcast. This is the podcast that looks at the glorious game of uncertainties and revels in the understanding that a team that had a mere 3% chance of making the semi-finals can rise to the occasion and beat all odds. No wait, Pakistan lost? What the fuck is the point of this stupid game, man? Let's go again. Hello and welcome to Bits and Pieces, the only stupid podcast in the entire world that seems to think that England is still relevant for some fucking reason. Also on this pod, we shall discuss in detail about the relevance of the Roman Empire, tips for the best way to mummify your dear ones, and a pyramid scheme involving pyramids. I really can't do this, guys. But joining me are some Amaze Max fellows who can. First of all, who can tell if he's from Mysore or Bangalore or from Chikmagalur? One can only say for sure that he's a chick magnet. Sure. He will look at your broadband connection and take your ISP to task because they don't understand the fair usage policy, also known as the net run rate. His handwriting suggests that he should have been a doctor and he will resuscitate you even if you're clinically dead. The only man to remind Nutgraph PGK that Pakistan were not knocked out of the World Cup before all of this craziness started. Say hi, Samir Mohan.
Hi everybody. What an intro. Chick magnet.
World has come a full circle because Pakistan have indeed been knocked out. Finally.
Yeah, they've finally been knocked out. So, yeah.
After Samir, up next, the man they call from the piston from Lisbon, the only man who goes to the gym and pumps irony to come up with some stand-up material that'll make you go weak in the knees like a 250-kilogram deadlift. Put your hands up if his stand-up gets you wound up. He'll get you hopping. He'll make your legs want to open. He is Murli Sadgopan. Say hi.
Oh, man. I'm going to record this part and send it to my wife and tell her this is how I want you to greet me every time. Amazing. Thank you. Glad to be here on this fateful day. But thanks, Tony.
Yeah. And rounding up the panel today, Mr. 360 of Bits and Pieces. Much like Surya Kumar Yadav coming back and practicing on small Mumbai grounds to fire in the big tournaments, this man does a morning show with Jamie Alter and Manvinder Bisla with over 50,000 fans, only to join Bits and Pieces to keep this practice going. The man from Glance who should open an OnlyFans. The man who will get you to end No Nut November single-handedly. The clean-shaven dream haven, the textbook sex snook. Say hi, Nitin Sundar.
Hi, Tony. This is all too much, right? Come on, what is this? Thank you. Yes.
Shai is coming.
So guys, Shai is coming, Shahin Shah Afridi is going.
So I just need to say that I've been trying to get my nearly 7-year-old daughter to watch cricket to no luck. And today I was trying to get her to watch at least a little bit, saying, listen, this is the World Cup finals. And she said, yay! And she was like so happy. And I'm like, what happened? I thought like she's finally interested. She's like, this is the final, no? That means no more cricket after.
Do you tell her about Amazon Prime Paytm Trophy live from New Zealand? Coming soon.
FTP.
Wellington Masak Sada.
Quick question before we talk about the World Cup. Is that also going to be a Bangladesh trophy like all the recent tournaments in New Zealand?
It is very
No, it's a Paytm trophy.
Oh.
All right, so for all of you poor listeners who had to endure with us with me for through all that. We are recording exactly 30 minutes after Ben Stokes or one of those fuckers hit the winning runs.
4 F-bombs in the first 10 minutes. Now we know what riles up Tony even more than New Zealand winning stuff. It is England winning stuff. So it just proves that Tony, after all, is no different from any other cricket fan. It is still anybody but England. Even New Zealand, okay, but anybody but England.
It's actually an ex-New Zealander winning it for England in Australia that makes Tony riled up so much more. He's like, bastard, you're from New Zealand and you're making England win. I hate both of them.
No Nut November and Baseball kind of go in tangents. So yeah, thank you, Tony, for getting yourself riled up. Intro sorted.
Yeah, less than 30 minutes after this stupid shit. Less than 2 days after India nutted in spectacular fashion, whatever that was. Guys, I am out of words. Say what you want to. I don't care. What is happening?
Which England win are we going to talk about? Is it the win against Pakistan or the win against India?
Pakistan first, because
I think Pakistan first too,
Pakistan.
because I think the India win will take us on this slide that we'll be at the top of Jack's beanstalk and it'll just be a constant slide because nothing about that game was worth talking about. I think Pakistan actually had some good things to talk about.
Yeah.
They gave it a fight though. I mean, till Shaheen Shah Afridi limped off, I was genuinely hoping, there is scope for some closeness in this game. But yeah.
Basically, Pakistan had a very bad last 4 overs of both innings. And maybe that was eventually the difference between the two teams, right? In the first innings, they look set to get like 155, 160, which would have really brought their bowling attack into the game, right? In hindsight, they probably, if they had a fully fit Shaheen, I would have backed them to defend 160, man, the way they bowled today. I don't know what happened there at the back end of their innings. Sam Curran just came and screwed them over. Like, there's no other word to put it, right?
CSK'd them.
CSK'd them.
I mean, I slightly differ in that I didn't think Pakistan really ever got going, right? I think they had those odd spurts that got them going. Even until the 9th over, they were still kind of tottering. Their first 6 was weak. I mean, they had these occasional aberration overs, but it didn't ever look like they were set. They didn't look like, even when England were losing wickets in their power play, it looked like England had the game. They were constantly scoring. They were keeping the run rate up. They looked like they were going to win. I didn't feel that with Pakistan in the first 9. And then after the 10th over, something happened. Like you said, I believe to the 150 was definitely on. And yeah, Karan said, no, I'm too short for this.
Not after the 10th over, the 11th over, which was the most expensive of the innings.
Please, Tony, there are lots of coaches and analysts who are analyzing, trends in T20 cricket. I don't think anybody has noticed this trend that you have come up with. So please go for it. Tell us more about this.
No. Every team in this match, because there is no strategic timeout, has come out swinging after the 10th over when there is a significant drinks break and coaches can go onto the pitch, right? So literally, I haven't understood why you haven't bowled your best bowler in the 11th over. We were discussing this on the YouTube live stream. Right on cue, Liam Livingston came and bowled us only over the match and went for 16 runs, right? So, I mean, yeah, after 11 overs, Pakistan were pretty much set for a good total.
And then what happened after that Liam Livingston swing was Adil Rashid came and again, Jazbaat badal diya, zamana badal diya. It was a tremendous over. I mean, they actually went back and showed highlights of Adil Rashid's groupings on how he got the Babar wicket and then how he followed up those 5 deliveries to Iftikhar. That's like a bloody painting. I mean, it was so freaking good. The grouping.
You mean it was not a painting? It was like a modern art. Basically, one dot in the middle.
Cubism. Balls by Picasso or something like that. But the grouping was so good, and then he just followed it up with a maiden over, and then there was no comeback for Pakistan. Papa Babar got out to
Baba.
googly. Papa.
Papa. No, talking of famous paintings, right? Listening to the commentary, did you also feel like cutting out your ears?
God.
We were listening to our own YouTube live stream.
we told all our fans, please, Ningalum Vango, listen to us, not Van Gogh.
Oh my god. But to put things in perspective, at least 2 people of Pakistani origin have won the World Cup. Adil Rashid and Moeen Ali have family back in Pakistan. One Indian has won the World Cup, by the way, from all the way from Africa. Rishi Sunak is probably celebrating
Ashish
somewhere.
Nehra has won the World Cup.
But nine other English players have won the World Cup, guys. So
And
should
a
we
few New
stop the
Zealanders.
podcast?
And
Like, this is it. Thanks.
it.
It's been a great run for 45 episodes. We're officially calling it quits. When England are champions of ODI, T20, and have something called baseball going
that
on
is their
in
own
Test
cup.
cricket.
The only good thing is that England still, they cannot make the finals of the World Test Championship, right? Whatever they do.
Yeah,
Or will
yeah, they can't.
No, they
Wow.
can't.
Thank God for some sanity in this world.
Samir has said they can't. Okay.
What did PGK say?
So somewhere PGK is putting together an analysis.
Something is really working for them in this white ball format, especially in T20. To think they had to leave behind Ben Duckett, they had to leave behind players. They still have more in the fringes. They still have people who performed well in Pakistan and other places who they could not play because, and of course, as you know, Wood didn't play. Archer is still trying to get fit. And yet they look like a
Bears too got
squad.
out much before the tournament.
And their trump card never even played a single game. They were hyping up Reece Topley to be their answer to the Shaheen Afridis and the left-arm paces of the year. And the guy just gets injured after one warm-up game.
Yeah.
He's gonna go back. We never know what's gonna happen. And then suddenly you have like one day a Sam Curran puts his hand up. One day another guy puts his hand up. Alex Hales has been consistent. Butler has just been leading from the front. And then it's just like comprehensive. To think of it, they were almost about to be rolled over by Sri Lanka, and then Ben Stokes just sticks in the end. He is like, as our friend Nitin says, he's the Forrest Gump of T20 cricket. So
No, he's the Forrest Gump of World Cup finals. He will always be there in the final. At the last moment, he will be the guy.
Remember the name.
It was a really, really measured innings as well. That was just the right. And even though they were struggling a lot, I mean, with that Naseem Shah over, they were clueless. That Haris Rauf over, it really looked like the bat and the ball had slightly opposite, the same poles or whatever of a magnet, so perilously close, but just not close enough. Even if one of those nicks had, and they appealed also multiple times, like Rizwan constantly appealed for everything. He caught the ball, he's like, probably can't be, please, Allah save me.
Interesting thing about the English win is that the only match they lost, if you want to call it that, full credit to Butler for like not beating around the bush, saying Ireland played better, etc. I think if it was still a full match, they would have won, right? That's literally the only game they lost.
yeah.
It was 50-50, I would say, but yeah, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they hammered New Zealand, they hammered India, and for all practical purposes, they hammered Pakistan as well, right? I mean, unless there was a close finish somewhere in the offing. They got a rain out against Australia, which I think probably helped keep Australia in the tournament much longer than they deserved to. But
Think about this, no? The interesting point is you go back in time and look at the inflection about when this happened. This 2015 was when they started to really give a thought for their white ball cricket. After that exit from the World Cup, then they came to India, Kolkata, and then Carlos Brathwaite just found another gear that day. Just four.
Yeah,
four
in fact, you could argue that England were the best team in that tournament and not
Exactly.
West Indies. West Indies lost a game to Afghanistan, if anybody remembers.
Exactly. Yeah.
And England chased 240 against South Africa, right? They
230.
already, whatever, yeah, roughly. Yeah, I always approximate. Come on, exactly.
Samir is a numbers guy.
no, please.
They were in fact one of the first teams to zero in on this thing that you need one anchor and you need hitters all around, right? They had Joe Root back then, and they had everyone else was going after the bowling right around, and it's exactly the same prototype that West Indies followed. When people say the way West Indies played T20 in 2012, 2016, that phase is over and the game has evolved further. I don't think it has evolved. I think it is exactly the same template, just that West Indies seem to have lost the ability to stick to it, and England have taken it to the next level as far as T20 is
No, like, I mean, let's not brush that aside as a one-off comment, right? Because the whole thing literally the only thing that India did, apart from Nitin, you'll point out that 9 of 11 players were the same in the India squad, was that in between they actually tried to play some fearless cricket, right? Or at least like fearless cricket as far as getting into mutual funds, not debt funds was considered, not investing in crypto and all. But like they did have a go, and then they landed in Australia and realized this is not gonna work, guys. Let's revert to our older thing.
Chalo, Melbourne ko vanakkam.
Yeah, but England's never been like that, right? They'll be like, fuck it,
Yeah.
like, we'll give it a red hot go, and what happens happens, and they've stuck to their guns, whether it's in ODIs, T20s, Test cricket. when it comes up, it's brilliant. And like when they're consistently doing this, yeah, they've figured it out.
Josh Butler came out and said, say 6 or 7 out of 10 times this will work out. This can also go south for us, and we know it, but we are still gonna keep doing it, right? Like that's incredible clarity. Like everyone knows their roles, and this is just, I think this is just gonna continue. If any other team has to take something from this whole England victory, is just that they just made the best use of power play by a mile in the crunch
Yeah.
games, and they just reminded that whole Sanajay Surya Romesh Kalvetarna kind of phase, but except that both players were firing and
It's not just clarity, right? It's flexibility to the nth level. Like they had David Malan, who apparently at one point was the best T20 batter in the game for some reason. Mark Wood, both of whom were like either like injured or put out of the team, right? Livingston batting at 6 or 7 or whatever it is. It's like absolutely like anyone can play at any point in time, and when you have to, you come good. So it's amazing. It's not clarity, it's flexibility, which is next level.
So again, drawing that parallel with the great West Indies team of 2012, 2016, right? Now, both that West Indian team and this current England setup, they appreciate that batting obviously in T20 is probably a little more important than bowling, right? And I'm not saying bowlers are irrelevant. There are learned people out there who claim that bowlers have no role to play in T20 cricket.
No agency.
Yeah, no agency, correct. They're free agents. Yeah, but so if you decide that batting has to be your strongest suit to win in T20, and you need more hitters, more batting depth, and batting depth really helps because it helps everyone at the top play a slightly different brand of cricket if they know that batting goes all the way down to 9. Now, the moment you make that decision, it means you're going to play one or two lesser world-class bowlers, specialist bowlers. In fact, England probably don't have any specialist bowler. Right? Mark Wood probably would have been the specialist bowler, and he didn't play in the last couple of games.
Adil Rashid perhaps is the only one.
Adil Rashid perhaps. Even he can slug a few, but yeah, you're right. Adil Rashid is probably the number 11 in this lineup. What then you need to do is you need to have a bunch of all-rounders, right, who can bat really well, really aggressively, and can also come in and chip in with 2-3 overs as required. And they have, was Moeen Ali even used today? I don't know, right? Like they have Moeen, they have about 8 bowling options, right? The moment you have so many bowling options, you're de-risking yourself, right? Even if a bowler hobbles away injured or is having a bad day, you bring on that bowler. And yeah, someone else pointed this. I think Samir, you were pointing it out, or Murli was pointing it out, that England make great use of their fifth bowler, right? They bring on the fifth bowler at the right time when they're least likely to get hammered. Right? Stokes always gets the first over out of the way, comes on in the seventh over.
And the seventh over, yeah.
Just after the power play, right, when teams are reassessing. There is so much of smarts and mathematics. And by the way, this is very similar to how West Indies were operating, right? They had Darren Sammy, they had Andre Russell. These were the guys bowling for them, right, in 2016. They had Samuel Badri, probably the only guy who was playing as a pure bowler. Maybe there was one other fast bowler that was playing as a pure bowler in 2016 for them. Everyone else was an all-rounder.
In fact, England have so many bowling options that if someone's going badly for the first 2 balls, they can say he's injured and take them out and put the next guy and finish like baby overs for all of them, right? Like just try it out, doesn't matter.
And that's the challenge. Yeah? If you're building a bowling strong team, you will always have that risk of, because it doesn't matter how good your bowling attack is, any one bowler can have a bad day on a day, right? And then you're screwed if you don't have if you have just 5 bowlers or even 6 bowlers, right? You're in trouble. It happened to Pakistan today. The moment Shaheen hobbled away, unfortunately, you knew the game was done. They were not going to be able to challenge England from that point onwards. Very unfortunate what happened to Shaheen. But the point is, if England had that kind of an injury to any of their bowlers at that stage in the game, it would not have mattered. They would have had a fairly reasonable replacement within the 11 to come and fill in those overs. I think that's the learning to take away from this for all teams out there.
For me, actually, the reason why I'm really admiring England is they've built a squad. Like India is building a team, or they were trying to build like 9 players or 8 players. They built a whole... Yeah, they built a whole ass squad here. Wherein, I mean, I'm just trying to see what are the kind of people in the fringes, right? With Ben Duckett and Reece Topley, Mark Wood, Jofra Archer. They even tried, I think, Brendan Gleeson or whatever else. They've got a bunch of players coming in on the side who can fill in those gaps and get match experience in all these tours. And yes, they bat till 10. I think they've got, great depth and all that. But just because they have bowlers who can also bowl does not mean that they are good, right? Here they are good, which means they haven't been giving 200 runs every match, even for being not the world's best bowlers. And we have to rate them. Rashid and I think probably Mark Wood or somebody could be in the top 10. I don't think anybody else will be the top 50 also. They've got the Jordans, the Livingstones, and everybody, but they all deliver pretty decent overs when it matters, keep the run rate down, that their batsmen are able to chase it anyway. I think this is outstanding planning.
And also look at not just the fringes, those just outside the fringes. Tymon Mills, George Garton, Harry Brook, Tom Banton. Look at these folks. These folks are like free agents around the world in T20 leagues who are just plying their wares, just getting their numbers. For the longest time, Liam Livingstone was just playing for Perth Scorchers, and then suddenly he just gets a call up, right? Like now he's the mainstay of England. English middle order, lower middle order, or whatever you can call it. And obviously, not to mention, they can always tap into Irish resources. So, Larkin Tucker in an England jersey. Is this the first time we are hearing about this?
Owen Morgan says,
What's
hi.
this stage? Owen.
So the broad commentary, right, even in English media, because England's
Broad
test team have England media also have been reacting to the fact that England have been really bad in test cricket for the last many months, and before Bazball really kicked off, including when they went 2-1 down to India, right, last year. This is because they've put limited overs cricket on a pedestal, and the entire county system is getting undermined. We don't have test quality batsmen emerging and all of that. Leaving aside the blip that is Bazball, which hopefully was a quirk of the nature of the Duke's balls that showed up last season, and hopefully will revert to mean sooner than later. Is it, and it's the same argument that people threw to Rahul Dravid as well, asking, okay, it looks like the Indian T20 approach seems a little dated or a little inferior to what all the other good teams are up to. What is the way to focus and get better at T20? And Dravid's response was, anything you do for T20 cricket, whether you're going to open up foreign leagues to your players or anything else, is going to be at the cost of first class cricket and eventually test cricket, right? My question to you guys after that long-winded preamble is it impossible for any team out there to actually be good in all three formats going forward? And my answer, it's a rhetorical question, my answer is India with the amount of money and resources that they have at their disposal should be able to dominate in all three formats if they choose to. They're choosing not to dominate in T20s, or they think what they're doing is the right thing. Either way, they're nowhere near domination in the T20 format. What is your take on this, guys?
This is a very nice, it's more of a comment than a question kind of.
Sorry. Thanks for calling me out.
Well played. Go ahead, Samir. I'll come in.
I don't think India are in it at this point, even in all the three formats. I have a ringside view of what transpired in SMAT, right? Like Syed Mushtaq Ali and Vijay Hazare Trophy that has begun today. Barely 2-3 names from fast bowlers that have come in, right? Like there's been no breakout Umran Malik kind of performance that came out, right? Like it was still very bits and pieces cricket, dragging on all day towards the it was being dragged on, the similar utilitarian sort of cricket. Mumbai have just been outrightly dominating SMAT this time, and heartening to see Sarfaraz Khan get like a 2.0 version of it. But again, you see, there is no novelty associated with it, and if it's the 2.0 version of a player who you've seen who's coming in, there is nothing scaring about them to an opposition, right? Like
let me just respond, right? Like I'm in agreement with what you're saying, right? We know what the India talent base is, right? The people who play the SMAT are the same guys who are playing the IPL, and we have seen this.
Exactly.
We know what is lacking, we know what is there. We know there are top order anchors, there are a few hitters who emerge, who eventually the system will shape into anchors, because that is the only way they get into national reckoning.
Sanju Samson likes this.
You don't have hard length fast bowlers who operate in the middle overs. You don't have wrist spinners of any quality coming through. We know that, right? My point is, it's not so much a comment on the talent or the lack of it thereof, right? It is more about what is the system doing to ensure that these players emerge. There needs to be a certain philosophical approach to how you will nurture T20 talent and even understand what T20 stands about. It's about coaches, it's about scouts.
It's about the numbers guys as well. So Alex Hales had 450s before he came in and biffed India all over the park at the semi-finals. He knew ACG at the back as the back of his hand. Chris Jordan plays for Adelaide Strikers. Harris Rauf is a bona fide
Are you just
Melbourne
quoting
Stars.
from Nitin's Money Control article?
Exactly. I remember that thing down, like the back of my hand. That was for the semi-finals. For the finals today, look, Harris Rauf has played for Melbourne Stars. I think Harry Brook also played for the Renegades or someone, if I remember correctly. So these are
And the
people
funny
who's-
and the interesting thing is the Big Bash League is not even a high quality tournament.
Exactly,
Right? The whole
exactly.
point is just coming and playing here. You might not be honing your cricket skills per se, but you're at least learning how to play these conditions, what to expect, what the matchups are, the ground dimensions. So much happening, right? And you have India like just showing up for the tournament, like, okay, guys, we are in Australia.
I don't think if the Indians travel to other countries also they'll play any better. I'm the current Indian crop, at least. I'm being brutally honest about this assessment, right? To me, I
Murli,
feel like
one second before you go on. I know why you're saying this. You want to make the Portuguese national team. You don't want any more people from India just coming and sitting. I know you're knocking on the door of Portugal, Levinda, but all the best to you. But like,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, I mean, I definitely don't think Kohli and I are just fighting and vying for that one top order spot in the Portugal batting lineup.
Unmukt Chant is eagerly listening to this.
And I know a little more Portuguese than him. But even on that front, I feel there's a lot of hubris, of course, in the Indian team as well. Tons of it, right? We are not willing to drop the people who are not performing. Some of them are clearly. They are anchors in not the way they play. They are anchors as in they're just weighing the team down. They're just like very heavy and you have to carry them along because they're so difficult. You can't get rid of them. And the bigger England players are stepping away. They're willing to say, okay, for example, if Stokes had not moved on, Joe Root had not moved on, I don't think Harry Brook would have gotten to play Pakistan, gotten to a level where he could play the way he does today in Australia. I don't think those things were possibilities. We need to allow ourselves to say, no, this is not the team. Just try new things. You don't care. Be experimental in saying, let's Reserve-Iyer and the Punts and the, Prithvi Shaws and Ruturaj just go and play some T20 games on India and see how they perform. So what if they fail? At least we'll groom. Because if we keep saying KL is failing, but KL is KL, yeah. At least he'll have that one amazing. And literally, like I said, he had 250s. Both were against the worst teams in the freaking entire world. Two teams.
No, you can extrapolate all the way to the last World Cup, right? Where he failed in against Pakistan and New Zealand and then scored 50s in the last 3 games against all the minnows.
Minnow milkshake.
Yeah. So,
Minnow
I mean,
Murli.
just taking a step back from all this, right? I don't know if you guys have read this book called The Sports Gene by David Epstein. There was a brief trend called the Big Bang of body types, right? It was when science got into sports and they basically said when you're in school and in like probably in your primary school years, there will be this like one set of people who win every kind of sport, right? Like whether it's shot put, 100 meters or that or this, right? So what happened during, I think, between 1960s to late 1970s was scientists got into this to say what body type is suited for what sport, right? And basically they said, listen, like just because this kid is good at shot put at 100 meters XYZ, don't like let him do all of this. Figure out what he's genetically cut out to do the best for, right? It has nothing to do with eugenics or any of those bad things. But basically as a result, what happened was during this period, you saw that the variation in body types between people in a particular sport shrunk significantly, right? So there is this thing called the swimmer's body illusion that behavioral economists talk about, right? Which is that you think that if you swim, you will get a body type like a pro swimmer, whereas it's the opposite.
So I don't want to interrupt, but this is the classic South Indian thing where parents say, play basketball, you'll become taller.
Correct. Exactly. So the
jump and become taller. Go on.
causation works the opposite, right? Which is that you have a swimmer's body. That is why you are reaching the top of it, right? So what happened as a result was that if you employed this strategically as a country or as a sports organization, you could get outsized results. David Epstein in this particular book, I think you should pick it up, also talks about how Australia, which is primarily a sort of summer sports country, went on to win a bunch of medals at Winter Olympics, right? Which is that they had a system to identify early on to say, look, listen, this is your body type, this is what you're good at, but this is where you will excel at. And they pulled out a bunch of those people early on to say, listen, you focus only on luge or one of those winter sports, and they basically game the system, right? What is missing in India, because we've been a poor country for the longest, sorry for like extreme like intellectual masturbation, is the idea that we've been a scarcity country for the longest time, right? So to do well in anything, you think, okay, this is the only way to do it. And we don't treat like test cricket, ODIs and T20s as separate sports where they absolutely should be. And we don't even have the best person in charge, right? Rahul Dravid is great if you were playing test cricket in the 2000s. He's a fuck all coach if you're playing in 2022, right? You need someone with a vision to say, we need to shake things up and things cannot be the way they are, right? And basically look at T20 as a completely different sport from test cricket, and not go around saying bullshit like if people play T20 cricket around the world, Ranji Trophy will suffer, right? No way. Like, we've got the biggest base of population anywhere in the world. We've got the most scarcity ever, so that there will be enough people who don't have opportunities outside of sport to come in and say, I will play the sport and I will, do my country proud. So we've got everything going for us. I think it's just a archaic mentality that we have, and we've regressed in some senses since Ravi Shastri is gone. Not that he's the greatest, but I think like at least he was trying some different things. You need someone who will take that mantle forward. We've got
I agree there. I completely agree. In fact, I would draw back a little bit more and say probably the three people who played a role maybe in taking India to the next level at cricket were Dhoni, Kohli and Ravi Shastri. And the fact that all three of them are obviously out of the system now, I don't see that vision anymore in who has left. And I don't know about whether Dravid is a good coach or a bad coach. He's a hardworking, but I don't know if he's the sort of guy who can shake up a status quo.
It takes middle seat economy, guys. Come on, give him some.
You need forceful personalities, right? Like Kohli, for instance, in the mid 2010s, very clearly said, I've spent the last 5 years of my life trying to become the fittest cricketer in the world, and it has made a difference to me. I am only going to lead a fit team. I don't care if you have the best player in the country and he needs to play. I don't care. If he's not fit, he will not be in the 11. Right?
Yo-yo test. Hashtag yo-yo test.
Yo-yo Honey Singh is another name for Virat Kohli. Yeah, but and the results show, right? You came up with the fittest fast bowling crop India has ever produced. Right? It's also slightly a freak of nature that all those guys came through at the same time, but without the raw material and without pushing that extra limit to become fitter, you wouldn't have got that extra spell from a Shami or a Siraj in England last year, right? For instance, to finish those test matches. And in the end, that's what makes the difference. I don't see that focus anymore. Like, somebody pointed out Rohit Sharma, pot-bellied guy, loses the game and then, very coolly comes and blames the bowlers after batting like, batting like that. He doesn't have, like total garbage. Like Rohit Sharma's batting in the World Cup was garbage. There's no other way to put it for whatever reason, right? Out of form. But that the ability to even analyze and synthesize what's happening in the sport or to see what it takes to be better at it seems to have gone from the system. Maybe there is time here. Like, obviously, the Indian team plays a lot more than any other team because Indian cricket pretty much runs the world cricket economy, right? They are doing favors for other boards, going here, going there. Goodwill series in Zimbabwe. They go into New Zealand like 4 days after this World Cup to play something, which is all fine. They're obviously playing more than they should be. Get more personnel into the system, yeah. Like, what is this concept of a summer coach and a winter coach to start with? Like, what? Where is the continuity, right? Why don't you instead have format specialists as coach? Right? No, you have enough money here. You can get Mahila Jayawardene in to coach the T20 team if you want to, right? You can pay him 3x of what any other, 20x of what any other country, any other gig out there. You can get him in if you want to. He's amongst the sharpest T20 brains in the world. Instead, you have VVS Lakshman going to New Zealand. Like, what are I'm, by the way, a huge fan of VVS Lakshman and Rahul Dravid, must say this, from their playing days. But, where is the T20 DNA in these days?
We are all fans of VVS Lakshman. I don't hate Rahul Dravid, right? But the point is, like, if you are replacing what you said, right? MS Dhoni was a stability period. Kohli was saying, what the fuck can we do? And Ravi Shastri was an able person who said, like, I'll be number 2 because this guy has a vision. Let's go for it. Right? And like turning into India into a fast bowling team could not have been thought of 10 years ago. We went with fucking Mohit Sharma in the 2015 World Cup, if you guys remember. Right? So it's a transformational shift. I don't have any like lack of respect for Rahul Dravid, but I think he's the absolute wrong person for the job at hand. Yeah, no, I think Murli, as the purported host of this podcast, let me throw it to Murli, who's like has experience as a player, but also like I think been itching to talk about something for a while. Murli.
No, talk about everything that he said so far. Everything just like it hurt me. It like my heart is singed inside listening to everything he says. That we had to replace a T20 coach Rahul Dravid with VVS Lakshman for another T20 series. Like we cannot sink further than this. And there are one of the things that I want to identify, right? There was a time where India were a fire fielding squad. We really were probably the best fielding side in the world. We could challenge for it. Yes, we're missing probably the world's best fielder on our side, but he wasn't a one-man army that made the rest of them look weak. But now we look weak. We drop catches. We are slow to the ball. We don't, hold on to the ball for runouts. Those things were unpardonable. You didn't allow those things, and you wouldn't even want to look at Virat Kohli's eyes when you dropped a catch. Today, Virat Kohli is dropping a catch. Like crazy things are happening because I think the overall mentality has a thing. I know some people agree there is nothing called clutch games, nothing called mentality. Everything is maths. You connect the dots, you see ball, hit ball and say Sehwag, Sehwag and all that. But it doesn't work like that. Mentality is a thing. And I do not think Indians are cut out for this. There should be some heads should be chopped at the end of this. Like
everyone is itching.
I'm not lying. We're angry about this because, see, I'll tell you this. Even with Pakistan, right? I feel like they've let go of some load. Yes, they got lucky. Things worked out. Samir Mohan knows mathematics. But all of that combined, they've made it to the final credit where it's due. Even here, I think out of maybe if you break it down into five over chunks, 8 sessions, right? 6 out of 8, maybe England won, Pakistan won 2 or maybe 3 sessions, they were there. And I think that's enough to compete. India were never there. Except for that one phase where Hardik Pandya suddenly snorted some cocaine. Everything else...
Vijay Sethupathi in Vikram interval block.
Is over mein karke aaya.
Legit, it really looked like that one final coffee with Karan ad, and that was it. We went right back to doing hot garbage again. And see, I would lose to anybody, guys. I am fine. Losing to Alex Hales mentally broke me. Because Alex Hales was nowhere in the picture for England or anybody. Like there were so many people in the fringes. Alex Hales could feel himself dragged down. Somehow they gave him a chance and he beat us. And I cannot sit with this. India really has to learn from this.
Absolute respect here for Dravid, Lakshman and everyone. But
this has become our like... Bismillah Rahmani Rahim, no? Like has to absolute respect to Dravid, but fuck off.
most sung about unsung players.
They were brilliant in getting these recent crop of players, right? At the under 19, under 23, whatever levels, right? Like at scouting levels, at the NCA, they made the foundation, right? Like now today, I think that's their rightful place. Let's just agree at this point that a Dravid or a Lakshman is good in identifying a talent, honing them a talent, giving them an exposure on the big stage, right? Like explain this to me. You have so many. I think India has won the highest number of under 19 titles, right? Like I think all teams put together, and the highest number of final presence in the under 19 50 over World Cup. And you put the two together, and then there is no parallel, right? What happens to all these players after they come in and get their IPL contracts, right?
They become under 23
because the
30-year-olds keep playing till they are 35, so these guys don't get it.
Because your body doesn't recognize your birth certificate. It is like, bro, I am 35, not 20. What the fuck is wrong with you? Please.
Yeah. And then the moment you fast track these guys, they just become anchors. So where is your one level above? This is not the talent of a Dravid. This is not the talent of a Lakshman.
No, it's not that they become anchors, right? You incentivize them to become anchors.
Yeah.
Like right now, I can speak for the one Malu player that is there. I can follow closely. You've turned Sanju Samson from a guy who could play an impact innings of, let's say, 20 of 8 balls into a person who will anchor your innings and score like 50 of 43 balls. And like you're rewarding him for that. You give me an ODI slot. You're basically telling him you're ODI number 4. Serious like regression in terms of saying incentivizing the exact wrong thing. And that's a serious problem.
Exactly.
I want to just interrupt and call out one thing. I agree with all the things you're saying. If we have so many anchors who can play long innings in white ball at home, if we lose this 50 over World Cup,
Yeah.
the number of things that I'm going to throw at them is going to be mental. You want anchors? We have 10 anchors and one Ashwin. You want 50 over? It's at home in next to your house. We have.
You're right.
You want
cannot
pitches?
lose
We
this.
will give it to you.
We'll give you pitches.
Every
Akshar
kind of
Patel 8 for 12.
yeah.
No, this is completely correct what Murli is saying, right? So if T20 is about stack your team with hitters from 1 to 11, ODI cricket is stack your team with anchors from 1 to 11. India has it, right?
No.
Shreyas Iyer will come at anchor at number
Shikadi.
7 for it.
Anchors from 2 to 11 and then add Shikhar Dhawan at the
Shikhar
top.
Dhawan.
Okay, do
So
whatever he wants.
he is the prime anchor, boss. I mean, come on.
Never forget.
You know what's the fun thing that's going to happen? Shikhar Dhawan won't play the World Cup. He won't be part of the.
Yeah, he will announce his retirement 1 month before.
He's the ODI captain till then, but he won't play the World.
We are not setting up careers for these people at all. It's really worrying because even in India, I am so worried Brook Duckett will come and score 412 in 50 overs and again we'll 35 and score 238. Kohli will play one mind-blowing 100 of 128 balls and be like, oh, what a good innings. Nobody supported him. No, dude, your team lost. Your contribution led to a loss. That's all.
Looking ahead to that World Cup, right? Like, I would say India, England, Australia probably will definitely be in the semi-finals. Not sure who the fourth team will be. Putting my hat in the ring there early in the day.
Hey,
But
what
things can
happened
change.
in New Zealand? What happened?
I was waiting for you to fill the fourth blank, Ravata.
Also, you're assuming that Pakistan won't be allowed to play because that's a thing now. So.
This is from yesterday. This was in a different WhatsApp group. I'll just read out some numbers. Performances of some middle order batsmen today in Vijay Hazare Trophy. This is yesterday's scores, not today's scores. I don't have. Rinku Singh, 82 of 94. Rishi Dhawan, 45 of I think 27 or 28 balls. Tilak Varma, 132 of 106 not out. Saurav Chauhan, who is apparently a player from Gujarat, is 64 of 41. Rajat Patidar, 62 of 45. Abdul Samad, 66 of 62. Dikshanshu Neki, 80 of 111. Numbers. Arun Karthik, 59 of 53. Shrivats Goswami, 63 of 19. Shreyas Gopal, 64 of 76.
Wait,
What is
Very interesting.
You can't just like slide past 63
No,
of
no.
19.
Yeah.
Exactly.
What is that? What is that 63 of 19?
Here's the the absolute last name in this list is last two names are very stark. Okay, Riyan Parag 117 of 84, Ajinkya Rahane 59 of 72 not out.
59 of 72.
And he's not out. Not out.
Fuck Rahane. Let's go back to it. 63 of 19. Did you write that down wrong?
First Rahane,
What
at the
is
end of this, first of all, Rahane removed his jersey, got it signed by all those people, and gave the jersey to Samir Mohan. Please note.
Don't. But 63 of 90 by Shrivats Goswami, and he's
Oh,
Oh, it's
like a
90.
90. No.
Gorilla in the mist moment.
For a minute, Nittins and I were like, come on, Ravi.
Finally, we are in the
Finally.
zone. No, see, these are all brilliant numbers, okay? A lot of numbers. Who are the bowlers? Was there one wrist spinner worth talking about?
This
Absolutely nothing.
this is where after all our outrage against Kerry O'Keefe, Steve O'Keefe, right?
Karaoke.
We have
Kerry
to.
O'Keefe
We
is the
have to.
commentator.
Yeah, we have to go back and say he was right when he said it's off railway canteen 11, right? These numbers don't mean bullshit. Like Kerry O'Keefe was right. Like,
And I heard a Shreyas Gopal batting stat. What is that? I was like, what is going on, guys?
Murli is like, I bowled him and got him 3 times in 3 balls. What is that?
He's 60.
Am I trying out for the wrong country?
Yeah, he's also 60 of some 70 balls or something like that. Imagine.
Go Bali.
I'm really worried about these domestic players who are so demoralized, right? They're like, whatever happens, the 30-year-olds will play. Da. So our job as cricketers is to become 30. That is what I think. They are at under 19. They're reading their slam books and all. My dream to become 30 very quickly. So I'll be chosen for India. Pavam, I feel so bad for them, man. Sanju Samson crying every day.
Yeah, I don't know if you know this about Sanju Samson. At some point, Virat Kohli basically told him he's too fat, and told him no, as in like in not so many words, but basically like I don't know if you remember the IPL innings where he got a 50 and then he got his guns out and did this. Like basically just before that, Kohli told him, "Listen, you will get to eat parota and beef forever in your life."
Really, he told him.
Yeah. For the next 8 years, that's pretty much all you have to play. Forgo all the yummy food that you can, and like just focus on building your muscles and hitting big. Okay, so he hit big that IPL. He like actually brought out his guns with a 50, only to be like shafted by the likes of Dravid, basically pushing him into an anchoring role. I don't think it cannot be a lack of talent with so many people, right? And like with access to the kind of facilities what we are incentivizing, I don't lay the blame at players.
By the way, I forgot to mention was all these players had or are currently having a live contract with one of the IPL teams. So see, the IPL, as much as Han sir says that it is the bane of the country, which I fully believe it is, but there is a level or a dimension that gets added to these uncapped players that they go and they expose, right? Like the 50 of 20 balls was by Abhinav Manohar, right? Abhinav Manohar has just played in the fringes of Gujarat Titans last season, IPL trophy winning team. So he had the self-confidence backing to take it in the last over. Can we do this at scale, right? Like it's the typical product problem. If I have a thing, can I take them up to scale? I think that's the system, right? Like I think we had a good system and then we said, oh, we have to incentivize these people because they've been superstars at the grassroots or something.
Yeah. No, I mean, before we devolve into full uncles ranting about Indian cricket.
You're talking half an hour late.
For the last 33 minutes we've been doing it. Now we'll devolve.
Hopefully, Nitin has chopped off all of this, but like combining the uncledom with the Bangalore and like product management and all of that. If you're interested in Indian cricket, now would be a good time to, I have only 3 words for you, buy the dip, because like it can't get worse than this. We have noted the England win and sort of deemed it inevitable at the end in what one thing I really hate, which is the resulting, as poker players would know it. So interesting fact about England, they've played 6 matches, right? 1 got rained out. Guess how many tosses they won?
4.
Samir says 2. Murli says 4. 2. Nitin says
2.
No, they won 5 out of 6 tosses.
Okay. But there's not been a toss World Cup.
One second. The only toss they lost was against Sri Lanka, where they won the match with about 2 balls to spare. Right? Yeah. They've lost to Ireland on Duckworth Lewis, but every other game they walked. So when we say this is not a toss World Cup, is it really not a toss World Cup?
How does this prove that it is a toss World Cup?
I'm just throwing it out there. It's just
neither India nor New Zealand nor Pakistan, these are the 3 games that England played that I remember. Neither of these 3 teams, and Sri Lanka for that matter, were outplayed by the conditions, right? So then how is it a toss World Cup? India in fact said Rohit Sharma would have actually chosen to bat. Like they're like, big game, we will go and put runs on the board, like useless fellow, and not bat properly after that. So,
I mean, obviously the counterfactuals aren't available to us, but just to call it out that the last World Cup we called a toss World Cup. This World Cup, the team that's won 5 out of 6 has won it. I also don't think that it's a toss World Cup, but I think that's just an angle that we'll close out and say England was just too good, right? Like at the end of the day, I don't think like India had a chance against England, even if we had won the toss and batted first, as opposed to lost the toss and batted first. Which brings us back to Pakistan.
No, one sec. Like talking about the winners, right? I tweeted this sometime back. I should read out my tweet. So very richly deserved win.
What is your handle, Nitin?
Plug edge. Okay. Richly deserved win. They stayed under the radar all tournament, stuck to their guns and lifted their game where it mattered the most in their biggest game against the strongest opponent. Congrats, Ireland. T20 World Cup 2022.
Good comeback from calling them an associate nation and getting going viral and getting trolled.
Sorry.
Half the cricket world.
After Afridi took that fateful catch and fell down on his back, right? He actually did the standard star Afridi pose, man. Usually Afridi
By
does it
falling on
standing.
the ground.
Yeah, this Afridi did flat on the ground. At that moment, I think Pakistan's campaign was cooked. But dude, Murli, you mentioned a while back that Pakistan's innings never really took off, right? I disagree, man. It was a 165 pitch, a 160 pitch. They were on track to get 160, man, until Sam Curran came and did that to them in the last 4 overs, right? And I have no doubt with 160, this sort of, I wouldn't say Pakistan would have definitely won. They have the bowling attack though to defend 160.
But this match, if England had batted first, you're saying they would have settled for 160?
If England, I don't know what they would have settled for per se, but see, I go back to the way I look at teams,
Sindhu
right?
settles for bronze. She has no agency. She has agency.
I go back to the way I look at T20 teams, right? Like the way England have set up their team, they have settled themselves up to always get par plus scores and have a average-ish bowling attack that goes to plans to try and defend a par plus score, right? So Pakistan are the opposite, right? They're a bowling team. So they're always
with
looking,
no agency.
with their batting is all, because they're a bowling team, they're bowling heavy, long tail and all of that. They are always going to struggle to even get to a par score. They'll always be maybe par -5, par -10, but they are backing their bowling attack together. So yeah, if England were batting first, they probably would be on course for 175. If they were going to have a great day, they would have probably got 190 on this pitch.
No, but,
and maybe won this
like
game. Yeah.
the immediate previous thing is they smashed New Zealand by bowling first and then like comfortably chasing it, right? With like a below
No.
par. Of course.
Wait, who? Oh, you're talking about Pakistan. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about England.
Yeah, I mean, like, basically, the point is that with the way they are set up, if they bowl first, they can pretty much rest easy, right? Because all the pressure is going to be on the team that is batting first. I mean, it's like all counterfactual. There are enough stats and all of that. But, like, yeah, at the end of the day.
Remind me of a game where they bowled first against Zimbabwe, right?
Against New Zealand, they bowled first. Yeah.
152.
No, I was just thinking, what other game did they bowl first? They bowled first against Zimbabwe on a bowling pitch and had them 130. So there you go. That's the problem, right? Once you have a bowling heavy team, your batting will, if it is a pitch where 130, 140 is a par score, that batting is going to struggle that little bit more, especially with the openers out of form, right? So
I think a better counterfactual would have been if India batted first, we'd have been blown away by Pakistan, dude. Like they would have chased
on that pitch, India would have struggled to make 130, 140 against the Pakistan attack.
Batting first, yeah. Before we record the next podcast, India would have completed 2 T20 internationals against New Zealand in Wellington and Mount Maunganui, I want to say.
Mount Maunganui.
Under the
pitch.
Under the sagacious tutelage and aegis of Willius Lechuman.
Tutelage of Pai Mai. Mount.
Oh, well remembered. That is from Kill Bill, right?
Correct. Please listen to intermission.
Thank you. Yes.
The cruel tutelage of Pai Mai in Mount Maunganui.
That is rhyming much.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I could have should have written it down.
Wicket and do hi-fi under the tutelage of Pai Mai at
Cruel
Mount
tutelage
Maunganui.
of Pai Mai.
Cruel tutelage of. Yeah.
Interesting anecdote is that Mount Maunganui is where India won their most recent Under-19 World Cup. So it's a brilliant wicket.
That entire team is available to play an Under-28 World Cup right now.
I don't know if you guys have read this underrated series of books called, I think it's called A Lord of the Rings. But basically there's a ring that they need to throw, which is also in Mount Pai Mai in New Zealand. So, but guys, listen, we have to look forward, right? When is the next T20 World Cup? I'm guessing in a couple of years, because next year is in the US and West Indies, if I'm not mistaken, where US and West Indies automatically qualify. So, and we also do, because fuck off.
I had a brain fade. Sorry, the 20 Mount Maunganui
Steve Smith,
was-
aap yahan.
so I have been in delusion thinking that the most recent world under 19 World Cup victory was in New Zealand. Unfortunately, it happens to be in West Indies in Antigua. Mount Maunganui is where India lost to Bangladesh, if I am right.
New Zealand lost to Bangladesh. India have never played Bangladesh in Mount Maunganui.
Under
Hey, he's
19.
talking about under 19 World Cup.
Not Bangladesh. Not Bangladesh.
No, that test
Bangla
match.
watch the past, right?
No, that fabulous test match between Bangladesh and New Zealand where Bangladesh won for the first time. That was also Mount Maunganui.
Who is this? Bangladesh. By the way, is this the ground near which aeroplane takeoff happens?
Yeah.
This
Yes,
is that
yes,
one, right?
that
Tell
is.
that no, most important thing about the ground is that. Other than
Robin
something and all.
Uthappa and MS Dhoni say. It fully devolved into chaos, guys. Who the fuck is the anchor of this podcast? Moving
A
on to
depressed
this.
Sanju Samson fan. That's
Okay,
who.
one sec. For the benefit of the users, I will users bol raha main. Daily active users.
Can I just say, the most listenership our podcast has is on the way to office on Monday morning or after returning from office on Monday evening, where people are like, man, my life can't get much worse than this. And they listen to us absolutely blabbering incoherent nonsense. I don't know why. Setting it up with this.
Yeah, elixir
Yes,
of
please
life
clarify.
at Silkboard Junction. But yes, I must say, I just wanted to say that Uthappa Dhoni reference that Tony mentioned.
It's basically Uthappa talking to Gaurav Kapoor about like how it is to be back in CSK, etc. And they were playing a warm-up match, and like it was fucking hot, like in Dubai or something. And
There is an interesting conversation mid-pitch between Dhoni and Uthappa, which you can listen to now.
involves airplane takeoffs. Yes.
Who I also really enjoy batting with is Mahi. Mahi is a lot of fun while batting. He drops a few factoids from time while batting even. Like fun. What? What factoids? So we were playing this like after years we batted together in a practice game here now preparations for the IPL. So it was hot, right? That day was also very hot. And we were batting. So random. So I was like, dude, it's hot. You're like, we're sucking up for air. You're like, yeah, man, it's when there's no wind, it's very hot. And he's like, that's why in these Middle Eastern countries, the aeroplane runways are longer than normal because there's not enough air to get lift off. I'm like, bro, what are you saying? Wow, that's an interesting fact. I didn't know. And I walked back to my non-strikers and I'm like, dude.
Okay,
That's the kind of stuff that happens. It's funny, but it's fun.
It's amazing because the thing is, MS is generally interested in aviation.
He is.
This kind of thing, yeah.
You
But it's
know?
just the timing. The timing
exactly.
of dropping it.
Yeah, that's what I meant. These factoids just drop out from nowhere,
Okay, Nitin, tell us about India's prospects in T20 in New Zealand.
I have no idea who is playing also.
His VVS Lakshman
From India side or New Zealand, what Martin
VVS
Guptill will come.
Lakshman's coaching.
Even New Zealand will be tired, no? Like, why are they playing? What is the purpose of this series? Is it in the Super League? Okay, let's not go there.
You know who
It
is
is
the
not
captain,
even on
right?
TV. It is not even on TV, man. It is an
It's
OTT
on Prime,
series.
dude. Come
It's
on.
on Prime. It's on
That's what it is on OTT.
Nothing is on TV anymore, bro. Like, grow up.
At least, those 90s fans, no, when India lost, they will shoot the TV and all. At least they can't do that anymore. Not on TV only. They have to throw away their smartphones and go away. Not that dramatic.
Guys, if you want to really stick to what we believed in the beginning of this podcast, considering how we oscillate as a group in general, I want to say this is the T20 tournament we should be watching. Like, if we want to watch anything, it is Hardik Pandya as captain, Pant, Gill, Ishan Kishan,
Correct.
Umran
Sanju
Malik,
Samson,
Kuldeep
motherfucker.
Yadav, Sanju Samson, Washington Sundar. So, and of course, don't forget this name that regularly you'll keep getting reminded of. Say it after me. Shreyas Iyer. Regularly you'll keep...
Shreyas fucking Iyer, Nitin Sundar. This is the Quentin Tarantino of bits and pieces.
He keeps coming. He keeps coming back. So this is definitely worth watching.
With
I
the
will name
visible
this episode Reserve-Iyer Dogs.
Reserve-Iyer Dogs.
Actually, Pulp Fiction. Pulp Fiction has the record.
Pulp Fiction.
Bulb
Fiction.
Also don't forget the ultra-human patch, which is what, the short ball is like a patch on his whole performance, much like the ultra-human patch he wears. So, yeah.
Wear it like a patch.
Wear it like a patch.
Also, if you're not interested in T20s, Australia are taking on England in 3 ODI series in Australia.
Amazing. I thought India versus New Zealand is the most pointless thing happening this week.
Like 3 days later. So, like, they would have
Amazing,
played two ODIs as well, which we shall try to cover. But do you know what is happening after the 3-match series of England against Australia
Ashes.
in Australia?
Ashes.
Ash Day. That happened
Guessing.
last year. No, there's a West Indies tour of Australia. Prime Minister's 11 of Australia are playing West Indies on the 23rd November, and the Australia vs West Indies Test series kicks off in Perth on 30th November.
I hope West Indies at least does not lose to the Prime Minister's 11.
Which Prime Minister? Who do you think? Who is Australia's Prime Minister is actually like a much better GK question than who was India's Vice President.
Scott Morrison, no?
If you say so.
By the way, it's not Scott. Wait, first of all, it's not Scott Morrison. Fuck off.
Danny Morrison, huh?
No, like Scott Morrison fucked off. No, now it's the liberal guy who.
Oh yeah, Boris Johnson.
No,
Anthony Albanese.
yeah, finally, yeah.
Making up new names.
He's got a nickname. No, that's why I don't know his full name.
I don't know so much and all about I don't know that.
You
Tony.
Googled
His
it,
nickname is Tony.
He's got like a... No, Anthony Albanese is his full Christian name, but he's got like a nickname, dude. I don't know what he's called.
Cheta.
Tony
Australians
Albanese.
Australians can't do more than 2 syllables, but also like can't do more than 2 months with the same prime minister. So whichever prime minister's 11 it is taking on West Indies, followed by.
They could have 11 prime ministers playing in that
They
match.
could have, 11 prime ministers playing the prime minister's 11. Nitin, I hope you can get a decent edit out of this. I doubt it.
Like an archaeologist in Harappa, I shall try.
Indus Valley civilization.
Are you telling a bye-bye? Bye-bye over. Is the podcast over?
All right. This was it for episode 45 of Bits and Pieces on Spotify. This joke has apparently been done before.
By Ilayaraja. Since we did not mention it earlier. So, Ilayaraja recently signed up to be on Spotify with his entire discography coming online. And there was a short 20-second video that Ilayaraja did for Spotify. என்னோட 45 year experience இப்போ Spotifyல நீங்க கேட்கலாம்.
All right. So this is it for episode 45 of Bits and Pieces on Spotify. Give us 45 5-star ratings so that we can get back to the top of the pops.
And as we call the Indian top order, the Spotify.
From 4 anchors of Bits and Pieces, it is bye. This is Tony. Say bye, Nitin, Samir, Murli.
Bye.
Bye. See you guys.
Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.